following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to 50 Shades of Bullshit. I'm your host, Christine Lalonde, and this is the podcast where we uncover the truth about online dating. Now let's begin. Hi, it's Christine.
Hi, it's Jada. Oh, Jada and Janice.
And this is 50 Shades of Bullshit. Here we go.
Hi, guys.
Hi, everyone. How are we this week?
Yeah, good.
We're all good?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a cold. I'm dying. I'm all like puffy and icky, and I'm here. I'm surviving.
Winning. Hashtag winning.
Well, I have a boyfriend that's actually taking care of me where I've never been taken care of before. So that's a new concept. I have never been sick and had somebody take care of me.
I actually prefer to be really left alone when I'm sick, to be honest.
Me too.
No,
Me too.
I want someone bringing me fucking water.
No.
I want someone bringing me my pills.
I'm totally the opposite. Totally the opposite.
He makes dinner for me. Oh, hell no. I want this.
I actually always ask my boyfriends to DoorDash me when I'm sick. I'm like, stay away.
That's like me, Janice.
No. I have always taken care of myself. There's never been time for me to be sick. This is honestly amazing. I had a boyfriend one time that years ago, before I even met Christian the first time, we went to where'd we go? We went to Palm Springs and we ate at this Mexican restaurant, and I got a food poisoning.
Oh no, don't tell me.
And I was dying on the floor. And look, it would have been nice if he had at least brought me water or brought a blanket to cover me while I laid on the bathroom floor and died. But all he did was bitch and moan in the other room about how we weren't doing anything we planned. And I was like, okay, as soon as I'm done shedding my brains out, we will go do what you wanted to fucking do. So this is nice to have someone like take care of me. I don't get taken care of. I'm always the taker care of her. So
Taker care of her.
Yeah, you like that? Yeah.
That was just, yeah.
Isn't that amazing? So it kind of, I think, ties in with our topic today. Our topic today is men. Balls are heart. And actually, Barry is our God damn it. Barry is our guest today. And he's saying that are you able to keep your heart open without losing your balls? And I have a real strong opinion about that. I think that you have balls if you lead with your open heart, if you are vulnerable, if you are, a good, upstanding man. I think that it makes you more of a man when you are invested and put your heart into things. I think that men who don't have any balls.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking forward to this conversation because I think we're going to be talking about vulnerability and emotions and how much you show and how much you give of yourself. And I guess my question would be, is there too much of that?
No, I don't think there's enough.
Okay, all right.
You don't think there's enough vulnerability with men, or you don't think?
Yeah. I don't think that men are vulnerable enough.
But okay. Just like individually speaking, I know I've dated very emotional people and I found it very exhausting personally.
Yeah, I think that there's a fine line. I mean, I dated a guy one time that was super how do I put this? He just was balls to the wall emotional all the time, which I think is different than coming in vulnerable or coming in with a big heart and taking care of their person. I think that super emotional men who are like too sensitive, like anything you say to them as a joke, they take it personally. Anything they do, they take it personally. I think that's a completely different story than, coming in with vulnerability and showing that you are sitting in your masculine with it. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I guess a willingness to show yourself.
Yeah. Oh, God, what did I do to my hair? So
I think sometimes when it comes to like toxic masculinity, part of the problem is that men don't want to show any of their true selves.
Yes.
Right.
And on the flip side, I've also dated a couple of people where it's just like, I'm so tired of like having deep and meaningful. It's like every single time we hang out. You know what I mean?
Oh,
deep and meaningful conversations, and then it's like draining and exhausting.
Exactly.
And
yeah. I do believe I do believe that, like I said, there's a fine line there. I think that you should have a balance of having fun, keeping things light, and when it calls for someone to be a meaningful conversation, I think that is where it's only needed when it's time for that. I don't think it should be every fucking conversation. So, which some men I think do, which I think they've gone overboard.
I think some people in relationships feel like this is how they get close to their partner, is by having these intense conversations and these intense moments.
Yeah.
And that's how they bond.
Yeah, I agree. So let's bring Barry on. Barry Selby is a reoccurring guest here at our wonderful show at 50 Shades of Bullshit. He talks to us about a lot of different bullshit. Barry is a relationship expert who really, he'll have to tell us how long he's been doing this, because I don't have it in front of me because I'm so fucking prepared today. I know he's been working with women on a very continual basis, but he is opening it up now, and he's really, gearing towards helping men as well, which I think is a smart motherfucking thing. Barry, let's bring Barry in here.
Yeah,
I love Barry. First of all, I'm so sorry. It's so dark here, and it's so light where you guys are. I should adjust my lighting.
I got a backlight, girl.
Hi,
Barry. Barry is with us. How long you been doing this, Barry?
Well, let's just say my pivotal experience was in the beginning of 2007, and I started coaching probably 2009, 2010. So it's been a dozen years.
Okay.
But speaking to what you were saying, the reason why this topic's come up a lot for me recently is because one of my coaches, because I work with coaches too, one of my coaches in September, October, she asked me, like, if you bottom line what you do, what is it you actually do? What's your drive and what's your fuel? And I said, well, the truth is, underneath everything else is respect for women. That's what is underneath everything for me. So when I coach, I'm always helping women to really honor themselves and everything else. And the obvious gap was, I'm not telling men that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Barry, you're kind of missing the mark a little if you're like trying to teach people how to respect women. We need to get at these men now.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. And at the same time, is for me is also, what is the difference? What is the thing why do I stand out from other men in a lot of senses? Because I've had a big journey in terms of personal development and growth and seminars and bad relationships and other things too. But one thing that became very clear to me is that we've had this old paradigm we're still carrying around about men being the ones up top, and women being second to that, which is what we're outgrowing. What's happening, I think, a lot of men is when women start stepping up and they're in their own leadership, being in the feminine. Frankly, I think a lot of men don't know how to handle that because they're using their old tools, still trying to do the old thing. Almost sidebar for a second, using about the difference of opinion about being left alone when you're sick or when you want to be nurtured when you're sick. I was in a relationship, a fairly brief one actually, because of this, going back several years, and she had food poisoning one night coming home she went out for dinner with friends, and I was at home already, and she came home and she went in the bathroom to throw up, I went into the bathroom and held her hair back while she was throwing up. Because that's what I thought I would do. I'm caring for her. I want to be, spoiled. I mean, it didn't smell. No, it didn't smell good.
Yes,
But
Barry, I
Like,
applaud.
that's
Yes.
my version of hell right there.
the thing is, though,
Very
the next day, she shut down.
Yeah.
And when I got clearly, and we started, and things, we actually broke up because of this. Ultimately, when I found out afterwards is that she wasn't comfortable being that vulnerable. Sex was no
Right.
problem. Everything was fine. But that emotional intimacy, that physical intimacy of letting me help her when she was sick was a wall or a line I shouldn't have crossed for her. So we wanted different reasons, different lessons.
Well, I mean, I think it sounds like a line that she didn't want you to cross, but not that you shouldn't have.
Right.
Well, I'm saying
Right.
it's her. I wasn't going to
Personal.
stop doing that. It's her stuff, definitely. And it was interesting because I didn't think about that. Now, I'm saying it's good or bad, but I was like, I want to serve, I want to help, I want to be kind. So that was the hard stuff for me. And to speak to something else you said earlier as well, I've been on this journey for a long time. I said the personal growth, about spiritual work, everything else. But for quite a long part of that journey, I had really wide open heart, but I didn't have any balls. Basically, I was actually more caring, compassionate, and kind, but I didn't stand up for myself. I didn't lead in a certain way. And the transformation work that went through that really showed me what it meant to be a masculine man. Because all I had before that as reference points was nice guy, bad boy. The nice guy was hard open, wimpy, go wherever the woman was said, whatever you want, dear, sort of thing. Or the macho man saying, doing it my way, screw you. And I didn't have a third choice. When I discovered and learned and then embodied what masculinity truly was, which for me is an open heart and a strong spine, it gave me the understanding of being compassionate, but know what I'm about, why I'm here, and be driven by that. So that's kind of what I've learned. And now it is, and it's interesting because working with men, there are many men out there doing the warrior work, like, gonna be tough, be strong. But for most of those men, unfortunately, they're not doing the heart work at the same time. So these men who didn't grow are becoming tough and strong, thinking, oh, this is great. But it's more ego than it is heart.
What do you think is like the key to unlocking this for men? Is it spending time with other men? Is it having mentors? I think that a lot of men would listen and just be like, I don't have any idea where to begin in our society. Like, what do you think would be a good starting point?
Well, I'd say part of that is both. Those are the two key pieces, to find other men to be around who are doing their work as well. Because part of it is for us, is for men, is to find safety with other men, because we don't normally feel that way.
Yeah.
And we say,
well,
but not with men.
I do have to say that we are really in a time of women being warriors. We are coming into our warriorhood. I mean, we as women in certain cultures in our history were warriors.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, we were tamped down and told we were too fragile and too this and too that. And men had to take care of us, and we were second class citizens. And now women are taking that power back, and we are becoming independent and strong, and like Janice and Jada, they can take care of their fucking selves when they're sick, and
away from my apartment for the next 48 hours.
Right? And so I think that we are really coming into ourselves, and men, I think, may not know how to handle that, or may be intimidated by it. And I know a lot of men can handle it, and a lot of men are badasses when it comes to being with a badass woman. And they are even more masculine for being able to be with a really strong woman.
Yes.
Now, I think that we're coming into a time where men are needing to really learn how to, like you said, be open-hearted and still be a masculine man. And in your words, have the balls,
Right.
And I don't think it's one or the other. I think it becomes, this unit where you have to have those things to be a masculine, strong man. You have to be able to handle that.
Well, the
So
thing
what do you
is,
think is that step, like Janice was saying? I'm sorry.
it's okay. For my own journey, because again, I came from the paradigm where it's like the macho or nice. There was nothing in between. So it was either or. It's like open heart or balls, but not both. So what masculinity did was put those two together. Because the thing is, most men who got the big cojones and the balls, the way they live life, they're kind of bulldozers. They're not really aware of other people. They don't really don't care about the people. It's all about competition and winning, and at all costs. And some men do really well at that, but they leave a lot of debris behind them, especially in relationships and family dynamics. So there's a shift that definitely has to happen for us men too. And when you said about the women become more warriors, what they do, as you said, is they need men that can stand beside them, not to fix anything, not to be in charge, but to honor them by being equal to them. That's part of what we're shifting out of, is a one up, one down culture. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like hearing this. It's about being having true equality, because we've had glimpses of that for a long time. But it's only, what was it, 1971 when we got credit cards in the States? That wasn't that long ago. So we have that. We have a lot of transformation happening, and yes, it's happening fast in some areas and slow in other areas.
Yeah.
And the other part also, because we men have been told, trained, and forced into being the ones in charge all the time for a long, long time. So to shift and have women come up to that level, because that's what's needed. A lot of men are like, we're not sure about this. This is not familiar to us. So they don't know how to treat it and deal with it.
We all wanted to be our mothers and our grandmothers and their mothers and our great grandmothers. We were all, badasses. We were all like able and capable, but we weren't allowed.
Right. Society wasn't built for it.
No. And I think it was, maybe there were a bunch of weak men in the beginning who needed to be in control and feel like they, you never know.
Though it's conditioning.
Well, yeah, but you think about
it is
go back.
conditioning.
But the thing is, you go back to the Victorian age in England, you see pictures of men around then. They had powdered wigs on, they had high heels on, they had knickerbockers. The men weren't macho by any means.
Knickerbockers.
Yes.
I love it.
Knickerbockers
That's so sexy.
Pre-Victorian, but yes.
But that's the era, though, that men were. I mean, women were very feminine. I mean, flowing dresses and all that, bustiers and everything else. But men weren't exactly masculine either. Yes, they would do some things like have duels and sword fights and stuff, but the outfits weren't exactly manly.
But also very passive, like people,
what is this face? You're like, I'm
a history blogger. I actually work for a historic themed clothing company, and I'm in charge of so I just know a lot about it.
I do.
Yeah, but that's neither here nor there. That's why I'm like, no, it's not Victorian, it's Regency. Let's get it straight. But also, I think also besides the clothing, that men were put in a more passive position back then, because a lot of marriages and relationships were contractual rather than like really having to pursue someone that you were into. And so we've only had like 150 years of I like this person, like what do I do about it? And so like as human beings, we're still figuring out how to do that. And even in the last 50 years, and certainly in the last 5 years, things are continuing, changing really rapidly as far as what's appropriate and what is an appropriate way to do that.
But also in other countries like in India and in parts of Asia, they still do arranged marriages. So we haven't outgrown internationally yet. I mean, we're definitely ahead of the curve, so to speak. But yeah, we've only recently become, we can choose.
Well, it's kind of weird because, back in my culture, part of my history, we were Vikings, and women were very equal to their men. We fought in battles right next to them. We were shield maidens, and it's like everything was like women were even held to a superior kind of stance. And then we go all backwards, and society tamps that down, and men wear high heels. And then I think they're wearing them now too, which is kind of cool.
Well, we saw it in the 40s and 50s too. I mean, during World War I, women went into the workforce, and then once the 50s hit, there was this really strong push to encourage women to get back into the home, just because of economic reasons. There weren't enough jobs to go around
After the war.
No, I agree. So tell us, Barry, in which ways can we approach this topic with men to help them understand that masculinity is not a lack of something, that it is that it's, it's okay to be vulnerable, that vulnerable is a masculine state. And
Yes.
how do we do that?
This can take a while. Another.
Well, we have
points.
some time right now.
I am so intrigued.
Yeah, what is this masculinity, healthy masculinity 101 with Barry
Part
Selby?
of the challenge is definitely that women have been taking their power back, but it's almost overcompensating the way that a lot of women don't need men, and so a lot of men feel left out. That's one thing that's going on. And so, and there's still a what?
I'm so comfortable with that one.
I was going like this. Sorry, Barry, you're kind of ganged up on today.
No, okay, we're not friends.
Don't take this personally, Barry, because we all know that you're a masculine man. We got it. We want to help all those other ones out there.
Well, the thing is that, again, like, I wasn't raised or taught that there's another way of being, and so most men weren't either. So a lot of men became like the macho guys and running the show without any emotional expression whatsoever. And then also the men who were like feeling guys who didn't have the drive or the passion to get things done. So it's kind of really combining the two in a sense that from us men, having clarity about why we're here, what we're up to, what makes us valuable in the world is one thing, but also having care and compassion for those around us because we're serving the world ideally. And that was the gift I got. And other men, I mean, I say definitely recommend all men go to the trainings I did, or we can talk about how I can help them too. But the key is that for the women's side of things, I was going to say, don't settle for less than you deserve, but also,
right.
But also have the sense that sometimes women tend to take on the masculine role without realizing it. So
I think, can I say something here really quick?
Yeah, no, jump in.
In my own personal opinion, in my own life, it's not that I had to.
Right.
I had to take on the masculine role. Even though my kids had fathers, because they have two different dads. I got married twice. We won't talk about that right now, but because it was more than twice. I had to be the pants and the skirt at home. I had to be the female and the masculine. And in my business, I have to be the masculine. And so it's not so much that we want to be masculine. It's just that we have to take care of business.
Yeah.
And people see it as aggressive, as assertive, as masculine, when quite frankly, we're just getting shit done. And we're quite capable.
And you're probably tired doing it all the time as well. You almost wish someone would step in and hold that space.
I'm sick of it. Yeah, I'm tired of
100%. Me too.
Yeah.
Right. So the thing is, so the thing about it is, and this is one of the pieces, because absolutely there are many women out there who have been solopreneurs or single parents or all those different things. We've had to wear both hats, so to speak. And the challenge a lot of times for those women is finding a man they can trust enough to let go of that is the hardest part.
True. Word. Trust.
What?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Word.
That is the word.
Because the thing is, for a lot of men, and I was one myself, I would say, yeah, I can do that, and then fall flat on my face. So I wasn't even helping you trust more, for example, back then. Now I know differently how to be. But most men, unfortunately, they haven't walked the path necessarily of how to be that strong, that consistent, and that trustable for a woman to let him lead the way.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And I know I can relate, Christine, to a lot of what you're saying, but I know there was a time a long time ago where I said, I'm willing to kind of put on all of these hats in my professional life, certainly. But when it comes to my romantic life, I am going to seek a man who will let me fully sit into my feminine, and I will let him, kind of, take the lead in a really healthy way so that I don't have to wear both hats in this aspect of my life.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm 100% with that, Janice, because I am the same way. I see Jada nodding her head. We really know how to take control and take care of business, but in our personal, romantic, and private lives, we really like really strong men who can handle our
100%.
ways. I
Where
will
are they
say,
at? Where are they at?
I think that, it's fairly recent still that women were able to be a lesbian, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
That
So,
meaning that they could be open to their
oh,
sexuality.
yes, that
Whatever.
they could say that they loved women, that women love women. And I think that that was amazing. But when that started happening, we started getting, what's it called? Oh, criminelli. I just forgot what it's called. It's where everybody's freaking out. Oh, you're either, oh my God, I'm having a cold brain fart.
I need a little bit more to go on.
Femininity. What's that word? Oh, Jesus, mother of Christ.
Femininity?
No,
I don't know.
it's where women think that men shouldn't open doors for them and they can take care of themselves. What is that?
Independent.
Chivalry?
I'm
Well,
sorry?
independent.
Chivalry?
No, God
No,
bless
it's
America.
independent, frankly.
Well, yeah, if
It-
someone wants that, that's independence.
Even
No.
men even say that they are on this movement. It's called something. It'll come to me. I'll forget. If I let it go, it'll come to me. So what my point is that a lot of people are, and women as well as men, believe that women have the right to do their own thing. And men have gotten to a point where they're like, oh, well, they don't even want us to open doors for them anymore. And we can't hold a door anymore. And we can't be chivalrous because, they've got their own thing. And it's not that at all. It's like they've taken something and they've taken it to an extreme, and people believe that it's too much now. And oh my God, it's pissing me off that I can't think of the word. I'll Google while y'all talk.
So let me a piece of that is, and this is the thing that's definitely, I've had this conversation a lot in the last few months about how for a lot of men, they've almost given up opening doors for women because women are so much in their face, like I can take care of myself, because the illusion is that men think that women think that men are presuming that they're weak is why they open the door for them.
Yeah.
When the reality is, what men are opening the doors who really know what they're doing is they're doing it to honor the woman.
Yes.
I have to say, when I was in college, I was a women's studies major. I am a passionate feminist. I went through the stage of college.
I can see this.
I didn't like that. But now I actually do. I don't know if I necessarily need someone holding the door open for me when I go to the supermarket, but for sure, every man who I date opens that damn door for me. And I'm stepping back. I'm letting him go out first to open it. I'm stepping to the side of the car door.
Yeah, but that's your requirement. Do you say to them, do you stand there at the door like,
no, not at all. I think that I think that it makes him feel a certain way, and I want to elevate that, and it makes me feel a certain way, and I want to elevate that as well.
I try to encourage, when men do that, I am always saying, oh my goodness, thank you so much. I mean, I make a big point of really thanking them, because over and over and over during dating, all these freaking years of dating, that I've heard over and over, we're not allowed to be, we hear women occasionally say they want a chivalrous man, but we're not allowed to. And it's like, the fuck you aren't. Be that man.
No.
You know what I mean?
Be bold enough to step up. Yeah, that's the thing is, I mean, I think it was a TV show or something, a movie I was watching where the woman basically, the guy walked a woman to the car, and then he basically left her at the passenger door, went around to the driver's door, and she was standing there, and he was like, "What are you doing?" Like, and that's the thing. That's the thing. So what you're saying, Janice, is true. It isn't about when you saw a man shows up to open the door for you. It's in that in the interaction.
Yeah.
That man says, let me take care of that for you.
And a man who's like really owning it loves it.
So this is the thing. Let me give you a little story. When I went out. Oh, Christine knows this one.
Oh no!
With the lunch date.
Tell it. I'm so excited right now.
So Christine invited.
Wait, I want to know.
So let me tell it.
I set Barry up with this really beautiful, wonderful woman. And I thought
feel like I heard this maybe from Christine, but I would love to.
So basically, we went out for lunch.
Maybe.
We went for lunch. her friend booked the restaurant. We went for lunch, and the three were sitting around the table having a nice time, getting along very well. Fast forward, like a few days later, she and I went out on a date, and she wanted to broach the subject to me. She said, there was a thing happened when you were sitting at the table, is that when the check came, you didn't take it.
Oh.
I didn't take it right away. And I mean, mea culpa, I totally got what she was talking about. And she was right. Because the thing is, I was in the mindset of like, it was just friends hanging out. So we just shared, we feel like the bill and we'd handle it. I didn't take it the way that I know I could have and should have done. Because the truth was, and she said it to me very plainly, it's like, Christina, she'd had soup or something. She didn't have a big meal like the other two of us did. I'm justifying it.
Damn it, I should have ordered champagne.
I mean, first of all, I didn't take it. And secondly, I didn't even offer to take it at the time. That was a mistake. No, that was a mistake on my part. But the thing is, when we went out the second time, she said, she felt that I was not matching what I was talking about, which is true in that moment. So I totally own it. I didn't do what I could have done to step up to that role. But that sort of thing is a key reminder. Little things are noticed, because the other part is, and this is something I also say, women are way more intuitive and insightful than men are. So that's sort of
I love that. That's a gem.
Well, that's the thing is, at that time, I missed it completely. She brought to my attention, like, oh God, yeah, like I so got it.
I'm really glad you brought this up, Barry, because I really think that she is actually quite an extraordinary woman. When I heard about the story from you, and then I called her and I was like, oh, really? and she was like, yeah, telling me about it. And she was just so strong in it. And I asked you, I said, did she do that with grace? And you were like, yeah, she was very respectful and graceful about it. And there is a way for women to broach these subjects with men, and doing it with grace and kindness, so we don't emasculate them.
Right.
That's the ball clipping. Yeah, it's like harder balls. No, I left them intact. You're welcome to use them. So it's like, I think that there's a way, women are very, what's the word? Do things finessefully. Is that finesse?
With finesse.
With finesse. I'm very capable of having a situation where I can help the man think that it was his idea when it was mine all along.
Subtlety, nice.
We're very capable of doing that. We're also
all women can do that.
Yes, we are. And we're telling a little secret today on 50 Shades of Bullshit. We are capable of doing that. But with that in mind, I really think that we need to also lead with grace when we talk to men about these subjects, because we're not here to emasculate you. We're here to build you up. Behind every great man is an incredible woman. Really. And if men realize that they could be even greater with a really strong woman, they would be all clamoring for us hot ass babes who are tough as nails, Yeah,
I think so. I think what your question is, Christina, and maybe to post this to Barry, is like, how can a woman best approach these conversations while, building a man up rather than tearing him down?
Well, the thing is,
absolutely.
One thing of that is, and it's one thing I've become very aware of recently, is a lot of the macho type men out there are like eggshells. They're still on the outside, but empty inside.
That's why they're violent, I think, a lot of them.
Because they're so protecting themselves. They're so scared of being vulnerable. And the reality is, for men who've gone through the journey, maybe it's through therapy or through workshops or whatever it is, we've had to basically take down the walls and realize that we're not the walls. They're actually stronger by being transparent, being vulnerable. So when we carry that strength, it's not fragile like an eggshell. It's solid because it's grounded inside. And so the way women can be with men in a lot of ways is and it's funny the way you said it, Christine, about you can do things without him even knowing you've got him to do things, which is a gift. But the understanding is also in the dance of that sort of relationship paradigm. And I want to, of course, correct one thing you said. It's not behind every man is a great woman. It's next to every great man.
Good job, Barry.
Look at you.
Good job, Barry.
I'm just talking about myself, maybe. I don't know. But that's the thing. Sorry.
Yeah, that's. I finally found the word. Google, thank God for it. It's called feminism. Feminism.
Feminism. Right.
You know,
You needed to
a lot of
Google
people. I did because I couldn't think of it.
Feminism
Well,
is a
y'all
thing.
didn't know what the
She's
hell
sick-
I was
she's sick,
talking
remember?
about.
I wasn't sure.
Feminism. Well,
Feminism is a thing.
yes, people
Indeed.
think
Yeah,
that feminism means that we don't want strong men, and that's bullshit.
That's not what it
And-
means at all.
No, that's not. There's so much.
That is not
more
what I'm
tied to-
saying.
I'm
That's
keeping
not
up with
what I'm
this.
saying. I'm going to say this again. Some people think that
Okay.
if you're a feminist, that you don't want a strong man or you don't need anybody's help. And that's
That
not
is
what
true.
feminism is. What I'm saying is that when people start to realize what feminism really is, it's also a combination of we can be strong and independent and have rights for women, and men still be beside us and be strong with us. And it's
Yes.
supporting each other. That's and I couldn't think of the fucking word. So there it is.
Even though I said feminist like 10 times. I'm just kidding.
You
love.
did.
said-
I
You
know.
said feminist, but my brain wasn't
did.
connecting to him.
I mean, really,
I-
I want to just touch on this because, you know, being a women's studies major and an activist and just who I am, I have come across this a lot. This idea that feminism means leaving out men. And actually, I think the actual definition of it is, you know, equality and equity for all.
All.
Is really what feminism is about. It's not equality elevating just women. It's elevating everybody.
I agree. I agree.
Me too.
Hey, look at that.
I
brought
mean,
the room to its knees.
there's so many things I could say, but Janice, I'll put a pin
You're
in
gonna-
that.
You're gonna put a
I
dot
love
to
it.
that
I love
period
it.
to that.
Period.
Yeah. And you know, we're in a really weird world right now. It's like I stop and think, here it is 2023 and we still have civil rights problems. We still have racism problems. We still have
abortion. Did you guys see that Texas
Abortion.
I can't even talk about that. I'm so bothered by it.
administration
Yes.
over birth control. I'm like, what is
Yes.
happening in this bloody
Yeah.
country?
it's so weird.
As
It's so
a
weird.
woman, we have little control over
Our own bodies.
our bodies
Right.
and what that
Yes,
looks
yeah.
like, which is
Mhm.
crazy. But
That's
It
unfortunately
is.
because the country's
anyway,
still patriarchal.
Barry, you're talking about balls. We're talking about bodies.
Bodies.
So
We're talking about
there's
vaginas and you're but we're all about vaginas and balls in this
Well,
room.
well,
So
part of the also just to sidebar to bring it back to another piece too. There's a movie that came out a few years ago about the mask called The Mask We Wear, and it's a story about how boys get raised to men and all the language and all the teachings we get as we grow up. You know, man up, suck it up, don't be a sissy, don't show any emotion, boys don't cry, all that sort of stuff. So a lot of men have become encased in that protection of not letting the walls down, to be vulnerable. So for most men, they don't open their hearts because that means they're going to be weaker and they're going to be vulnerable. In a sense, it's not the way not the way I understand it.
it's not masculine to be vulnerable, right?
Well, masculinity does include vulnerability. That's not a problem. But the machoism, which a lot of men still own, is that
Right.
sort of very hard-edged, again, that shell type structure, because they were raised not to show emotion. It's in there, but don't show it. And that's why unfortunately, a lot of men, when they get upset, especially if they get angry, and as I remember this, and I was in a seminar about this, and it was really powerful to learn the lesson about how when men's anger and women's anger is very different. And when men express anger, it's like it just blows out everything. It's like blows out the fuses for a lot of men. And so their anger either can be very controlled and like done in pieces, or it just goes out of control and they end up hurting themselves, hurting somebody else, or destroying the environment, whatever that is. Part of that is men haven't had the chance to work on their emotional healing
Yeah.
because there's so much
100%.
wounding inside of men. So then you're venting it out. The thing is the thing for, and this is something I remember, I was in an Alison Armstrong event and it was about men's and women's anger. And for men who have done some work, the thing about anger is right after anger comes shame. Because most men now done the conscious work, doing the loving work, are feeling like the anger is the barbaric energy that we don't want to carry. And when it shows up for us, we feel ashamed of it because we know it can hurt people.
Right.
So part of the transformational work that has to happen, I think, in a lot of ways, is men need to find a way of expressing their anger safely, as in constructively, versus destructively. But also, we have to do the emotional work, because opening a heart, it sounds easy. It's not that easy, because we carry so much wounding inside and protection from what we were raised with.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that men aren't boys as they grow up into men aren't really taught how to accept anger or well, I don't want to say the word control, but deal with it, express it in constructive ways. I think
Yeah.
that sometimes they either have a strong example of what they do want or don't want, or no example at all.
Right.
Janice, you look so perplexed. I need to know what's in your mind. Like, I'm looking at your face and I'm like, what is she thinking right now?
I'm thinking a lot, and Jada, I guess I'm thinking, I'm like, what is a healthy way for a man to express anger? And because I've had a life of experience and sorted interactions with men, and I guess I'm just like, what does that even look like? Like what does that mean?
So a couple of things are, basically, one way that men can express anger is physical expression. So playing team sports, or going hiking, or using boxing a boxing ball or bag, or chopping wood. I mean, there's something men can do that can get the energy out of ourselves, and physicality.
Chopping wood. I was
Let's
just
do it.
chopping
I'm all about it.
wood.
It works.
Love it. I'm from Wyoming. We chop plenty of wood.
Thumbs up.
Oh boy.
I do believe that we have been raising our young men to think that if they cry, that they're weak. If they show vulnerability, they're not masculine. It's a big, ha ha. I have big hairy balls, and I'm the tough guy, and that makes me masculine. Yeah, no, shave those things and show your emotions. That's how.
But
But
the other
you
thing is
know
also,
what?
I'll say quickly this one, because it's why I went through at school. When I was in high school, I got bullied by the other boys, mainly because I didn't show tough like they did. So there definitely was that contrast between tough guy and nice guy. And so I ended up being on the receiving end of being bullied and pushed around for 5 years. That was a training I went through to basically, to either toughen up or, be hurt. So that was something that a lot of boys go through as well. They got to be strong like the football team, or they're going to be, weak in quotes by not doing that.
Yeah.
Ada, you
And
going to say something?
I think that then once some men get into relationships with some women, they've just never had any experience with how to deal with the emotions that inevitably come up in a relationship. And that
Right.
is why we have a lot of the problems that we have. I mean, I don't know if the three of you have been paying attention, but family violence just this year is like, it's skyrocketed.
It's crazy.
It breaks my heart. It crushes me. And
It's
I
terrible.
think that that's one reason is just people
Well,
and men don't have any idea what to do with this. With
part of that also was because of the pandemic or the lockdown. People were stuck at home. And
Yeah.
domestic violence cases went up dramatically in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised that it's still that high now. I thought it would come down a bit by
But
now.
deaths by family violence just this year, it's
Wow.
like it's
I
record-breaking.
think people are still working from home. A lot of them are still
True.
working
Yeah.
from home, or they're just really allowing that frustration to see. They can't hold it in anymore. The seams are busting.
And for men need to have a change of pace at different times. So if they're working from home, they've got to get out and go for a hike, or go bike riding, or go drive up to the hills, or go
Well,
down
they
by the
have to
beach.
get out because
Yes.
they're
Yeah.
Getting away is so good for men, and it's so good for relationships too. I mean,
Absolutely.
what do we say? You're missing the missing when you don't spend time apart. And I think, especially for men, it's good to you be out in nature and express these things and do something that's just for yourself, just as it is for women.
Yeah. I'm not going to go into detail about it, but my boyfriend right now, he one of the things I've always witnessed with him and his son is a little bit of the way he deals with things with his son. And my thing that I said to him all the time, but more recently, is I said, and please don't be mad at me, Christian. I said, how you are dealing with your son is how your son is going to deal with things in the future. Do you want him to emulate what you're doing now? Do you want him to have no relationship with you? Do you want him to be irritated or hate you? Do you want him to grow up and have this same kind of way of dealing with situations like you are dealing with them now? Not that he's bad or horrible to his son, but there are times that he loses it. Like we all do. I do it. I've done it. Everyone's done it. That's not the point. But what I wanted to say to him is, think about how you're about to lose your shit with him, get mad because he's a teenage boy. It happens. Um, think about, are you wanting him to do that? And it's the way that we're teaching our children how to relate to each other. They're watching relationships not relating to each other. They're watching their parents divorce. They're watching dads raise them singly, or their moms raising them by themselves, and they're not getting this idea that it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to talk about them and express them, but in a loving, constructive way, not just losing your shit. And if you're a lose your shit kind of person, then you need a backyard or a place in your backyard to break shit.
Excuse me, chop wood. Chop wood.
Chop wood.
wood.
Yes, chop that fucking wood.
And the thing is also part of that also is if he's willing to do this, is also to clean up his act, as in clean up what has already happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's time now. There's time now. There's time to do it. There's always
well, and
time.
I have sons, so I've talked to you guys both about the journey. Barry, we should talk.
Okay.
I recently this last year, before we run out of time, this last year, I'll make this quick. I had to raise my kid with her stepmom because her dad was out of town for 3 months working, and it was between the two of us. And
this?
September through November, and he got a job out of state, and her and I were having to do all the driving and the working together and doing everything because he was on a completely different weird time zone. So I took a minute and I approached her, and I was not aware that my daughter could hear, which was fine. She could hear, but I wasn't aware that she was listening. But always be aware that your fucking kids are listening
all the time. My son's probably downstairs, 21. Listening. Like, what's up? What's she talking about? Can't hear her.
Yeah, right. I said to her stepmom, "Thank you for loving my daughter. Thank you for what you do for her. Thank you for the way that you care for her like you would your own child. And I just want to tell you, I'm sorry for all the resentment and hate that came from me throughout the years because of what happened between my ex-husband and us. And I just want you to know that I appreciate you. And I'm hoping that you'll accept my apology and that we can move forward in raising our daughter together." And she cried and she thanked me. And my daughter said to me, "Mom, I'm really proud of you." And that is an example that we can all take a moment and really step aside of our own feelings and do something for somebody else. And if it means a man being good to somebody, or watching his temper, or elevating a woman, or being beside somebody, then that's what we have to do. But I'm sorry, we are now out of time. All the good ones go too fast.
I know.
Barry, thank you for your insight today. I think this is a really important topic to talk about, and I think that maybe we can extend this. I actually would like to continue it at another date.
Sure.
Because I think it's super important. Maybe we can talk about steps to actually implementing certain things to help men and to help our young children and our daughters as well. Picking good men. Janice and Jada, Thank you for always supporting us here. Everyone who comes and listens to us every week, we can't thank you enough for coming back. Again, we will be here next week, same time, same place. And Barry, we'd like to really seriously have you back, and maybe we could do a part 2 of this.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about it for March, because I want to keep it going. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. And until next week, keep it real.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends, like and follow us on Instagram at 50 Shades of _bullshit and Facebook at 50 Shades of Bullshit. Thanks so much for listening, and we really hope to see you again next week.